go, 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 go. That's the birthday. That's the birthday.
What is up, Z-Pack? It's your boy DoggMD, aka Dr. Zubin, and his lovely wife, Mrs. DoggMD.
Hello.
We're back. We're back, snitches. Welcome. The Z-Pups are in the other room. We told them you are to be neither seen nor heard, which segues nicely into the topic of today's discussion, which is, should you beat your children?
Do you beat your children?
That's a different question. The question is, should you beat your children? But we were going to talk about this, and Tom had texted me this morning, hey, get Mrs. Dogg on the show, and we'll talk about corporal punishment in kids. Because
and why is Tom dictating my life? That was my immediate
that was the immediate text back. And I'm like, because he's 28, hasn't been to medical school, and pretty much owns us both.
No, his answer was LOL, and I said, that's not a joke.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink my poisonous LaCroix.
It's because I want to know what was up with spanking, and I don't trust Z. I'm going to be honest
Okay,
here.
listen to me, guys. Listen to me, Z-Pack. This is very important that you understand this. Tom totally doesn't want to spank his kids, right? Logan's on the fence, and we, being two-physician household who have, one of whom has actually studied the matter, I'm not going to say who.
I'm hovering like Trump.
Yeah, well, the thing about single-payer healthcare is that we need to cover all our members, and then creepy McCreep over here. So anyways, we want to talk about that, but then this breaking news came out about the nursing home debacle, disaster, manslaughter, slaughterhouse basically in Florida, which is absolutely tragic, and we thought we cannot do a show without at least talking about this. I posted an article on Facebook. You haven't even heard the news really beyond the headline.
No, I just saw the headline.
So basically 8 people have died so far at a Hollywood, Florida nursing home. First of all, did you know there was a Hollywood, Florida?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah, because isn't that where the House of Wax is? Am I wrong here?
There's a wax house.
Tom,
in
what do you
Hollywood.
say about Florida?
I'm not going to repeat it on the show because people there are suffering right now. Logan.
That's true. That's true. Well, there's a house of wax that's melting right now because there's no AC, and what had happened was a nursing home over there called the Rehabilitation Center. By the way, that's probably a warning sign if you name your nursing home after what it actually is. It'd be like, I'm going to go to a nursing home called the nursing home.
It's like when you eat at a Chinese food restaurant.
That says Chinese food.
Yeah.
Or you go to the VA and you order beer, and on the can it's a white can and it says beer. That's usually not a sign of quality. It's usually a sign that federal regulators have been involved in the past. And that was the case with this particular nursing facility, the Rehabilitation Center at Hollywood Hills. So what apparently had occurred, and this is early in the story, 3 a.m. this morning, there was a call to the fire department or EMS saying, hey, we have a patient here who needs help. They show up, take a patient out. They say, oh, it's kind of hot in here. Come back for another call. Come back for a third call. And at this point, the EMS said, there's something really wrong here. It's very hot in this facility. The air conditioning is out. Whatever their backup generator or whatever's happening isn't working, or their swamp coolers or local portable coolers aren't working because it's really hot. And that's when Memorial Hospital, apparently across the street, I think it was Memorial, sent some people, and they were like, holy crap. They went room to room, found 3 people dead, 3 between 70 and 99. These are elders, right, who are going to this nursing home to presumably be taken care of at a higher level than home. And they find these 3 dead, and then they go find others who are in various stages of distress. And you're talking about respiratory distress, high fevers, hyperthermia, dehydration.
Were the staff there?
Yeah, there were staff there. And in fact, the staff had been calling Florida Power and Light, FPL, the big monopoly in Florida, saying, hey, we don't have AC, we don't have AC. And just to back up a bit, apparently prior to the hurricane, different medical facilities meet with Florida Power and Light or have some arrangement where they say, okay, we're a critical facility. If the ish hits the fan and the hurricane happens, we're out of power, you need to come and get us up running quickly because otherwise people will die. And this place, for some reason unclear, was not on that list that Florida Power and Light had. Apparently, from what I hear so far through the news, and I'm getting some private messages, one person said, I want to tell you about this, but I'm so distraught. She works at the facility. Another person just emailed me and said, I want to tell you about this place. It's not safe at all, but I need to be anonymous, and hasn't given me more info. The staff was calling Florida Power and Light's customer line, and of course getting nowhere, because there's like 10 million people without power in Florida after the hurricane. Well, the temperature goes up and up and up and up and up. People start dying, and the next thing you know, the hospital actually across the street comes and intervenes, and it's a disaster. Like, they're evacuating like 100 and some odd patients.
Wow.
3 are dead on the scene. 5 more die en route or in the hospital. And you know what it's like in Florida. It's hot AF. Yeah. It's like, we've had this conversation. If the disaster that hits Vegas that kills our power for more than a few hours kills a ton of people, because we rely on air conditioning, and it's the same in South Florida. And the reason that elderly people, Tom, I don't know if you know this, but elderly people die of heat-related problems more quickly than young people because of several things, one of which is they don't thermoregulate very well, so they can't control their temperatures while their sweat function isn't as good. They can't get up and move into different areas that are cooler or warmer. And they're often on medications that impair their ability to thermoregulate their own body temperature. And on top of that, they have chronic disease that puts them at risk, lung disease, heart disease, et cetera. So neurologic, dementia. So they're at high risk. And so they're probably our most vulnerable patients, except for the very young and the immunocompromised and the very chronically ill. So of course, they are the canaries in the coal mine when the temperature goes up in any environment when you have a heat wave or anything like that. So again, no surprise at all that this is going on to people who have no air conditioning. What is a surprise is that they have no air conditioning. Could you imagine like Lytton Gardens, one of the nursing homes in Palo Alto we used to send to, if they had no air conditioning for 2 days in the height of the summer? Like, it would be the National Guard would be called in, right?
Oh, right. I mean, I wonder if, how often the staff were checking on the patients to see what was going on,
Well, here's a question. So is it the staff? Mm-hmm. Is it the administrators? Is it regulators who failed? Is it Florida Power and Light? Or is it all of the above? If you did a root cause analysis on this, like, what would you find?
Well, probably multiple.
Probably everything
causes.
is my guess. And we know that nursing homes are understaffed at every single level. They're like one patient, one nurse to 40. And then you're wondering, like, a lot of comments that were left on Facebook were like, how could it be that this could happen? Like, you would think a nurse would know if her patient was dead. Well, not if she has 40 other patients, right, and it's 100 degrees, and she's filling meds, and she's running around, and all this stuff is going on. So I don't know. I think there's probably multiple failure points here, but this is a facility that was already in trouble with the government for safety violations, for things like not treating their residents with dignity. That was like one of the, like, they weren't addressing them properly. So they were calling them old man or whatever, these are...
I call you old man.
Shit, that's true.
Wait, but that was
Maybe I'm next.
That was at the top of their list. It said not treating patients.
One of the top. Let me pull up the exact complaint. Regulators. By the way, regulators do not require nursing homes like Hollywood Hills to have generators, and there are still 150 nursing homes in the state without power. So is this going to be an isolated event, or are we going to see other stuff? And people have been sending me pictures of it in Hurricane Harvey, of nursing homes in Houston where they had big portable generators brought in to keep people cool, because it's the same environment. It's very, very hot, very humid. People would die without this. It's a life-threatening event. I'm trying to pull up the exact regulatory violation. So Jack Mitchell, the owner of the facility, he sounds like a criminal, doesn't he? I made that up. It's a little more provocative.
That's a little libelous.
Yeah. No, Jack Mitchell, who does not sound like a criminal, even though he sounds like a criminal, his picture looks like a criminal. I made that up too. I'm kidding. She's so mad at me because she's waiting for us to get sued for libel. The owner of the facility was accused in 2004 of federal and state healthcare fraud charges. That's not libel, that's fact. According to the Department of Justice, he and 3 others eventually settled the case. It is a problem. So the question is, did we let our elders down here? Did we have a regulatory failure? Is the power company in Florida, which many people have messaged me already saying, these people are horrible to deal with. Are they to blame, or is it all of the above? And I think the data will come out. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't even know how much regulation there is of nursing homes, but it does seem to me that
I think the answer is not enough.
probably. I mean, it does seem like anyone who takes care of patients should have several backup generators, should be the first on the list for getting power when it goes out. I mean, there are a lot of, and if there was a problem in terms of staff shortage, not being able to check on their patients, well, they should have increased the staff during this time when things were going wrong.
So Daria Seminara kind of points it out. She says evacuation is very expensive. Don't kid yourself. The owner has a history of Medicare fraud. How the hell can he open a sniff? It's ridiculous. So this guy's,
Not to speak ill of Florida, but the most Medicare fraud in the nation comes from Florida, and that's a fact. So.
Well, 1 in 5 residents of Florida is over the age of 65, so we have already a pretty. Do you like my product placement? We're not even paid by LaCroix. And by the way, just this is a side note. Wall Street Journal today ran an article on LaCroix. Everybody loves LaCroix, and nobody knows what the hell is in it. It's true.
Essence.
It's essence. It's natural essence. Actually, we got your own camera. Tell them about this essence. Did you read the article?
All I read was that someone from LaCroix said, "Oh, there's essence in there." I hope that answers your question.
And then someone asked them, well, what is essence? And the marketer said, it's our flavor image map. Like, okay, we are drinking chilled monkey brains. There's something, and aspartame.
But it tastes so good.
It tastes delicious. Anyway, so this, guys, Z-Pack. Those of you who work at the facility who can share something anonymously, let us know. I think that there is, heads are going to roll everywhere about this. It is a tragedy. The way we treat our elderly citizens in this country as it is horrible. If you've read Being Mortal by Atul Gawande, you'll see some alternative strategies for how we could take care of older people in a more compassionate way. This is absolutely inexcusable. And I want to also go to bat, though, for our nurses and docs who take care of patients in nursing homes, because they actually work really hard. They have very little resource, and they care a lot about old people. I remember making an offhand joke about nursing homes when I was in medical training, and my dad, basically beat me down. He was like, don't talk about the nursing homes, okay? You don't know. I've been in the nursing homes. When I'm sick, I'm hoping to go there because they actually care about you. When they do it right, they are caring. He was actually quite pissed off. He took it very personally.
Well, they're all different levels of
course,
nursing home. I mean, you've heard the thing that they're like God's waiting room. Well, some are like God's Hampton Inn, and some are like God's Motel 8, So you just got to end up in a good one.
I've always wanted to be in God's Embassy Suites because they have that free breakfast.
I'm going for God's La Quinta.
It's cooked to
because
order.
of the continental breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, the continental breakfast. But see, Embassy Suites has that cooked to order breakfast. It's like, I'll take an omelet with extra bacon, please. And they're like, sure, sir, whatever you say. And it's this shriveled up thing with one random hair on it.
But we love it.
We do love it. We do love it. We go there in Napa because we're cheap AF. So anyways, if you guys have other thoughts about the nursing home piece before we go on to the child beating thing, they told us air conditioning was a privilege and not a right here in Florida. A bunch of BS because it's so hot, Victoria Wilson. Again, we as humans tend to settle in places where we can live comfortably, and we can only live comfortably with technology. Las Vegas does not exist without air conditioning. It just doesn't. We would all be dead.
Do you remember last summer when the Transformer was out by us? And then it was only about 2 hours before people started coming out of their house and looking at each other like, yo, we're going to all die? What's going on?
It's like an apocalyptic event.
Yeah, it really is.
When you lose power here. People start to look at each other like, who am I going to eat first? Which dog's going to die first? And it's literally I was thinking, well, Tom Heineberg has a little bit of meat on his bones. I'm going to head over to his place with a couple of weapons, because I might need to because he's a big guy, and take him out. Okay, you man the fans, all right? I'm going to give you this butter knife. It's true. It's like you're ready for the zombie apocalypse. Anyways, we've mansplained this conversation enough. I've completely not let you talk. Did you want anything else to add to the sniff thing?
No, I just hope that we don't find more nursing homes with dead patients.
Yeah. And again, these are our parents, these are our grandparents that are in these facilities. We should care a lot more than we do as society for our elders. That being said, forget about our elders. It's our kids that are punk booches, all right? And my two kids are like, come over here. We're going to talk about you right now. Remember, you're to be seen, not to be heard. Come over here, sweetie. Come right around here. All right, we're going to talk about you right now. So, disciplining children has been a matter of debate since the dawn of time. How do you do it? Caveman would just pummel them with sticks, right? They would just, what? You want some food? I guess that big chicken that mommy cooked really deliciously that you refused to eat, now you want food, huh?
Well, it doesn't help that you ate 95% of it.
I did eat 95% of the chicken, and it was 95% awesome. And the other 5% also awesome. So how do you, like, you've got these two, they're acting up. What do you do? When I was a kid, my dad would simply take off his belt and show it to me. And that was enough terror to get me to at least short-term behave. But it also patterned in me that the threat of violence is an effective tool to manage human behavior. And then, fast forward so many years, we have a pretty violent society. We have a society where people think it's okay to hit healthcare workers to try to get their way when they're not feeling in control. And what is parental discipline but a feeling that the parents are no longer in control? So, like this. Like right now, I'm feeling out of control, and I want to kill everyone in the room. Like I just want to go on a rampage. But I don't. You know why?
This doesn't help in your causing.
It's all because my dad showed me his belt when he was a kid.
But your dad never actually hit you, is that?
Well, that's not true.
Oh, well, that's my question.
Okay, so Indian parents, okay, my dad would occasionally, if he fully lost it, and believe me, guys in medical training, I'm a kid, I'm me. So you know how I was, right? I'm basically her, except in male form, in the 70s. And so I got smacked around, all right? And it wasn't that much, and it stopped when I was young, but those memories, I still have those memories.
Do you remember what you were spanked for?
Not at all.
Not at all?
No, I don't remember what I was spanked for. Except for one time. One time I had a fishbowl. I still remember this. In fact, if my parents are watching this, they're gonna flip because if they remember this, it's gonna be crazy because I've never talked about this. So I had a fishbowl that I used to have a fish, the fish died. So Daddy had a big fishbowl. So I decided, like you two ding-dongs, that I was gonna take this into the shower because that would be a cool thing. You're drinking my LaCroix, you're about to get hurt. I'm kidding, go ahead and drink it, sweetie. So I bring this fishbowl into the shower and I fill it up and I'm playing with it, and I'm pouring it and I'm playing with it. I'm naked in the shower, I'm like probably 5 or 6 years old. Probably 6 actually. And it fills really big, it's made of glass, because I'm an idiot, I'm 6 years old. I drop it, it explodes. So shrapnel glass everywhere, I get cut, I'm bleeding. My mom runs in there, because she hears me screaming and crying, pulls me out, is like trying to pick the glass out of my leg. And my dad comes in and he's pissed because he just got back from work and he just goes crazy. And I got a whooping in addition to all this glass. Now I know he lost his temper and I know I completely understand what happened there, but that did not do wonders for my psyche. Like to this day I remember that. And I was 6. And so the question is...
But did that behavior stop?
Did the behavior of bringing a fish... Well...
Did you ever do something like that?
No, I never brought but I'll tell you, having it explode and cut me probably would have stopped the behavior. Mm-hmm. And what was clear was that my dad kind of lost his temper, just lost control of that. It wasn't a discipline thing. It was, I can't believe you would do something so stupid, and he didn't know what to do. Now in India, especially back then, corporal punishment is exactly what you do. That's how you raise your kids. Spare the rod, spoil the child, right?
China too.
China too, same thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing. So like did your parents ever like...
Well, you know, I was the youngest child of 3, so I don't know if people have ever read Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mom. I never actually read it because I thought, well, I kind of lived it. But it actually wasn't me personally. It was my older siblings and the kinds of punishments that they would be inflicted, on them would be things like, you know, kneeling on a hard floor in the corner for hours at a time, or, you know, holding a heavy textbook for, you know, hours. You know, so those kinds of physical.
That sounds like it's from an internment camp.
You gotta understand, man. Her parents are serious, and the thing.
But that's the norm. I mean, that was the norm.
Well,
you know.
But now your tolerance for suffering is really off the chart. I mean, you put up with our marriage, you put up with my show, you put up with 2 residencies, internal medicine all the way through, board certified, then radiology.
You put up with us?
I wasn't going to say it, but you said it. And so, you know, did you grow from that, or do you think it was just entirely punitive and had no benefit?
Well, I certainly learned from their example. I don't know what, I think my brother and sister would probably say that that was not a
Well, they got it worse.
effective form of
They got
punishment.
it worse because you were the youngest.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't.
You got off.
I got off. I was the baby of the family.
Yeah.
And also I was an accident. So
That's
by
true.
By that time they just, they just didn't care as much anymore. They let us run a little bit more wild.
Well, Jennifer Fox says it depends on the child's temperament. I couldn't be yelled at. I would break down and cry.
Yeah.
Being explained I did something wrong and why was enough for me to feel guilty and behave. Many people need more intense discipline, though. Depends on the home dynamic. Well, that's a great example. So Z-Pup over here, sitting in our chair, you literally, there have been times when I wanted to hang her by her feet and just, treat her like a piñata, but I don't, because we've kind of looked at the data on corporal punishment, and we're trying to raise our kids different than we were raised, so we don't hit our kids. And the little one, though, you would never want to hit her because she'll burst into tears if you even start yelling at her.
yeah, even if you just look at her
Wrong.
crossly.
She'll be like, Daddy's mad at me. I mean, that's all it takes. But every child is different. Now, the question is, are there children that need to have corporal punishment? Now, the reason I kind of want to do this is that we've decided we're not going to do that with our kids. You actually looked at the data, and I haven't had a chance to.
Well, I think certainly in America, corporal punishment has been in the past, no thank you, just the usual form of punishment. And even today, I think, surveys have shown that around 50% of parents use some form of corporal punishment, usually some kind of spanking or something.
50%? Is that what the survey says?
50%. And actually, in the South, it's more prevalent, maybe around 60%, and the rest of the country around 40%. And so, over time, I think the attitudes of Americans has shifted a little bit away from physical punishment, more towards timeouts. And I think that a lot of the medical societies and psychological societies, they have come out saying that that you really shouldn't do any form of physical violence against your child, including spanking, regardless of temperament.
Well, but this is still controversial in medical circles. Why?
Well, there have been lots of studies saying that spanking and other forms of physical punishment have negative effects on children. Things like they are more aggressive, they have self-esteem problems, it creates a cycle of violence in the home for the future generations. So lots of studies saying that, but most of those studies are correlative or cross-sectional, so that they show that kids who are more aggressive have been spanked, but maybe they've been spanked because
they're more aggressive.
So there's no causality,
Right.
it's just a correlation.
And again, we've talked about this a million times, like this idea of correlation causality. So you do a cross-sectional analysis where you're looking at an existing group of kids and studying their attributes and going, oh, the aggressive ones have all been spanked. Well, you can't assign causality, like you said, and that's where it gets difficult. Now, here's the question. There's a broader question that you brought up, which is, are we then promoting violence as a solutionary tool in society? And if you think about it, 50% of people still spank. And again, there's no judgment here. Like, literally, I have wanted to spank my kids pretty much every day that we've had them. And it's taken everything, because I was actually raised that corporal punishment is a thing. So it's very hard, it's part of our fabric, and it feels right a lot of times as a human, right? Because threat of pain, threat of force seems a tribal, yes, that will stop the behavior. But we have no data that it actually does.
Right.
Yeah.
And how much of this is cultural? Because Abdul says in my country, Pakistan, physically beating children is basically the norm.
Right.
And there was, I don't know if you remember Adrian Peterson, who's a running back in the NFL, beat his 4-year-old with a switch.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of people in the black community came to defend him. Like D.L. Hughley said, better a father's belt than a cop's bullet.
Wow.
Is basically what he said about it. And that's the prevailing sentiment of that culture.
Spare the rod, spoil the child,
Yeah.
end up in trouble later in life. And again, I think it's a cultural sentiment. We don't have good data to show that it works. and we might have some suggestion that it backfires. So we don't know. Now,
I do want to clarify, though, that most of the...
you want to use the Margaret cam? We got to try it out.
I'm going to Margaret-splain.
There we go. She's gonna mom-splain.
Well, I want to clarify that the minority of psychologists and pediatricians, at least that I was reading about, who actually do advocate the spanking as a disciplinary tool, basically everyone is in agreement that physical violence that is actually injurious, so causes bruises, causes cuts, anything other than just using an open hand, slapping on the butt. Anything beyond that is not okay. So the question is all spanking categorically wrong? I think that is what is in debate within at least the academic circles.
Oh, so it seems like there's really not debate that if you injure a child, you've probably done
That's
something
actually
wrong. You've done something wrong.
Right.
Black eye, cuts, bruises, broken stuff, bad. And that's abuse.
Right.
Yeah. But this idea of like a couple of whacks on the tush, or, you know what my mom used to do to me? It was amazing. Because the thing is, you never saw it coming. And you guys have met Z-Mom, right? So Z-Mom still feels guilty because she was very hard on me and much nicer to my siblings because they were younger. I was the oldest, and I was a little asshole. Like, there's no doubt about it.
No, really.
I had behavioral issues because I didn't like authority, and nothing has changed. And so what she would do is all of a sudden, out of the blue, it would just be like, whap, right across the face. And I would not see it coming. Like, I'd make one of my usual stream of snarky comments that would come out of my grill, kind of like what Nina does now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Daddy, you're a blah, 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 blah. And then we kind of verbally discipline her. What would happen is suddenly there would just be a pop across the face. And because you never knew it was coming, it was always a little like, oh shit, like what?
Yeah.
Should I do this? Like, am I pushing
mom
it?
violence
I
comes
try
out.
that sometimes.
What's that?
I need to try
Yeah,
that.
well, yeah. Well, you've done it to me. Like, I'll push
no, I don't like the
No,
face.
you've never hit me, but you've screamed in my face before out of the blue. Like I'll push something, I'll be me, and then all of a sudden she's in my face, out of the blue. And I'm just like, and then I'm good for like a couple of months
Hours?
at least, a couple hours.
Yeah, mom violence is always a surprise. Mom violence is like you're in line at the grocery store, and you're like, can I have this Snickers? And it's the sixth time you've asked, and then just bam!
Right.
Just out of nowhere. You're like, what the, oh my God. What just happened?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Our estate attorney is this very cool Mormon dude, and he told me, he said, you know what's the scariest thing in movies? When a nice, like, maternal type figure suddenly turns evil and tries to hurt you. That's the scariest thing that can happen to a human being. And I agreed. I was like, that's spot on. What were we talking about? Yes, the spanking. So the data's not clear, and there's argument over the data, but it seems like the general feeling in the medical community is don't hit your kids.
Yes, that is the general feeling.
Yeah. And again, I mean, look, it's our intuition now is like, it doesn't feel right for our kids. I would love to see good data that says that the outcomes are really bad from it, because then you could actually say it's evidence-based science with very little doubt that you shouldn't do this. Now, the reason I want this to be true is because as a society, this idea of eliminating violence from our daily lives is actually kind of a good idea. If we see now how normalized it is to spit at a nurse or to try to hit a doctor or all the stuff we talk about in Silent No More, I think that stuff starts in childhood when we're conditioning people that violence is part of it. We see video games that are super violent. And again, I'm not a prude. Like, I love a good, Rambo 1, you drew first blood, all right? But I don't know how good it is. Now, Tom, you have feelings about this.
Well, out of everybody in this room, I was the only one who wasn't spanked, yeah. I mean, I got like a backhand once, maybe.
Yeah.
And I probably deserved it.
Well, no, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was as normal as it is.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like you can't outsmart a 4-year-old. You have to hit them.
Right. It's like a failure of it's a failure of patience, it's a failure of
Right.
intellect, it's a failure of discipline. That's how it feels to me. Now again, I'm not judging people who do it because I know what it feels like
Yeah.
to be on the edge of that failure.
But then again, I have conflicted feelings because like one of my uncles was selling drugs when he was in high school, and my Irish grandmother took the hose off the back of the washing machine. You remember they had those big rubber hoses, and just beat his ass with it. And it's a hilarious story in the family. And now he's a successful business owner.
Doesn't sell
he has a
drugs.
nice family. He's doing well for himself. So I don't know.
I mean, as much as against violence as I am, I mean, I think I also have a problem with categorically saying that all spanking is a bad thing. So, you know, I think it does depend on your cultural background and your own experience with it. But for example, my sister, you know, she has 2 boys, and her younger son, when he was maybe 4, was playing with the gas stove. You know, just kept turning it on, and she tried all the different methods of trying to, you know, reason with him, of time out, you know, all those different methods. I mean, she's the kind of person who read a ton of books on child, you know, discipline and psychology, and she ran out of all the techniques, and he was still playing with the gas stove. And so she basically, she spanked him. It was the only time she ever spanked him, and the behavior stopped.
Oh, snap. So
you know, but that was the only time she ever did. And she didn't feel good while she was doing it, but she felt like it was a necessary thing to do to get her point across when she wasn't able to do it with any other way that she had at her disposal.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure there's plenty of stories like that. See, Cynthia says, preach, it's hard with boys. And Cynthia Ejogu has a autistic child as well. And progressive discipline is the rule. You never start with a spanking. Amy Holpner. I like that. I mean, I think that makes sense.
That's right.
Clean language with the pups in the studio, Holly Dixon. Mostly, they can't hear us right now, but when they come back in here, we're like, doggone.
Yeah.
What? You can't hear us? Oh, did we use any bad language? Yes.
Well, I think even, you know, the psychologists and pediatricians who say spanking, you know, some spanking is okay, say that spanking should never be the primary form of discipline. It should always be, you know, the last resort sort of backup or conditional spanking, you know, and basically just two, you know, whacks on the butt, only after you've tried, you know, non-physical punishments.
Katie wants to know, how do you guys discipline your children specifically? She says, I have a 2.5-year-old that can be a little demon. I'm at a point where I don't know what exactly to do. And it's even more difficult because I'm a single parent. So what are the specifics of timeouts that you use in your household, and what has worked for you?
You want to tell the Margaret Cam, because I tell you, I lost my temper so much, and I would just start screaming and shouting and carrying on, and I don't have that discipline. But you read the books, and you actually got Nina in particular under control, because she was just a terror.
I did.
Oh, she's so much better. Are you kidding me?
I think she just grew up.
Oh, could be. No, I think there was a discipline component.
You know, I think I posted a while ago on the Mrs. Dog page, like all the books on child raising and discipline that I had read, because I was having such a hard time with Nina in particular. And
that's the oldest Z-pup.
yeah. So the thing is that I don't do any physical punishments, but my problem is that I yell and I lecture. And I know that is my problem.
Oh yeah. Doesn't matter how old you are.
I need to do it more.
Oh, jeez.
For some. And so, you know, I think that there are a lot of different methods that are out there that you can read about, and the problem is that you really have to be consistent, and it's really hard to be consistent because it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of being able to control your own temper and your own rage. And it's really hard when you're short on time and you're short on patience, which pretty much everyone is, you know, who is living life. You know, whether you're tired from working or tired from taking care of your kids or all the other things that you have to take care of, then you have this, you know, child come who is defiant. And it's very hard to put into practice consistently some of these techniques. But one of the things that that does help me is to give myself a timeout, actually, to take a breath, or to even just step away from the moment so that I can calm down, because that will help me regroup and refocus, so that I don't yell, or I yell less. And also, I found that counting down helps get a behavior to happen. So, it's hard to expect a child to all of a sudden switch something that they're doing. But if you give them a warning and then say, okay, 3 seconds, and I count down 3, 2, 1, or something happens, some, punishment. Like at this point, taking away some privilege, like their Kindles or something.
Their Kindles have been gone for a week now.
Yeah,
Right?
because they haven't been nice to each other.
And now we have this leverage with screen time because we don't give them that much screen time, but the screen time they get is at risk if they're goofing off. What's interesting is right now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but before we went on the air, these two, they're used to us doing shows. They come on the show a lot. They do stuff. And often I'll set some ground rules and they will just blow right through them. So I'll say, listen, if I tell you while I'm talking to go ahead and do something else, or like maybe stop bothering me because I have to tell the Z-Pack something, then you need to do it right away. They never do. They will keep poking me, they'll keep talking to me, they'll jump up and down. Today I told them, listen, everybody's here, Tom and Logan and Mommy and me, and if you don't follow my instructions, you're gonna let us all down and let down a bunch of people who are watching. So if I tell you to maybe go back in the green room and hang out, or don't talk unless we ask you a question or something like that, then could you please do it? And it's interesting, they actually listened to us today. So did you see Nina was jumping up and down behind us? And all I did was I was like, hey, while you were talking, I was like this. And she just trundled off and did her thing. So over years, you can slowly start to build this sort of pattern behavior and that kind of thing.
I think something else that I found helpful when I first started reading these discipline books was that you really should try to encourage the positive behaviors that
Right.
you want to occur and ignore the negative behaviors unless they are dangerous. But one book that I read made a good point, which was that negative, like positive behaviors, good things that your kids do, often kind of go unnoticed by parents because that's just kind of what parents expect. But once you observe a negative behavior, then the parent sees it, and then it gets a lot of attention. So if you give more attention and positive feedback to the good behaviors that happen, then it's more likely to reinforce those good behaviors to happen again.
Right, and Brandon Brunson makes the comment, I don't think Kim Jong-un was spanked, and look what we have now. But here's the thing, you don't think Kim Jong-un watched his family members get executed or his dad do crazy-ish. So I think people pattern on the behavior they see from their role model.
He probably was spanked.
I'm sure, I think it was more than
We
spanked.
don't know what goes on there, but
I'm sure he had a professional spanker.
yeah.
Like somebody who his dad hired just to beat the child. And
Now,
then boom.
I think one of the interesting points you brought up, Margaret, and it corresponds with what a lot of people are saying in the comments, is that you should, if you're going to hit, if you're going to spank, you should never do it out of anger. It should never be reactionary. It should be calm and dispassionate. So is hitting in a calm, dispassionate manner?
How do you even do that?
Is it?
How do you even do that?
Is it better than hitting as a reactionary method?
Well, I think if you're going to, then yes. I mean, I think if you're able to take the anger and the emotion out of it and basically present it as, okay, you've behaved badly, you're still behaving badly after your timeout or whatever other methods you've already used, and now you basically have to come and take your medicine. It's like giving the medicine. You've taken all the emotion out of it. This is the punishment. Just come and get it, and then it's done.
But that doesn't feel good
well,
for
no,
us.
I know. That's why.
The whole point is we also get to be like, yeah,
What?
that's what you get, huh? Boom.
That's not where I thought you were going with that.
Oh,
Can I say my personal scenario? The only circumstance in which I would hit a future child of mine is, let's say they're about to do something really dangerous right in that moment.
Yeah.
They're about to step into the street.
Right.
Grab, swat. Don't ever do that
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Totally reasonable.
I've
I don't
done
consider
that.
that spanking.
I've done that. Somebody run into the street,
Right.
And you grab them and you just instinctively smack them on the butt and go, don't you ever do that again. And honestly, I think in that moment, there's so much catecholamines and stuff that triggers memory formation. Like they go, okay, I'm never going to do that again. Because first of all, that never happens.
Yeah.
I never get swatted on the butt. So yeah, I think, and that's one of the things they say. Like if they're going to hurt someone else or put themselves in danger, you can use whatever means necessary, within the parameters of not injuring them, to prevent that. So I think we've had a pretty decent. Was there anything else you wanted to add with all this?
Well, actually, I was looking also into whether yelling is bad for kids.
Oh, it better be good for me because I do it on the daily. So what's the deal with yelling?
Well, of course, you can find research that says that it is bad. And I thought, well, there goes
That's
our
just
kids.
too bad, because that's one thing that we do our best. We do our best. It's hard, guys, and look, we ought to be, by all training, we ought to be the perfect parents because we're, intellectually well trained. We're doctors, but no, I yell and scream. You're actually very good. You're actually mostly beyond reproach. There are a couple times when you lose your temper, and it's usually with me,
Well,
which is
deserved.
highly deserved.
Well,
yeah.
actually, I think I definitely could yell less. And it's actually one of the Z-Pack, when I posted my picture of all of my disciplinary books on the page, sent me the Orange Rhino. And for people who don't know what this is, I actually looked into it a little bit more today because we were doing this. And the Orange Rhino is a woman who basically decided a few years ago that she was yelling too much at her kids. I think she had maybe 3 or 4 boys. And she felt terrible about it, felt terrible about herself, and decided she was going to go a year. She was going to try to go a year, 365 days, without yelling. And so she did a whole blog about it, and I think she was able to do it for something like 500 days. And I think actually I'm going to try the Orange Rhino Challenge.
Yeah, but what happened? Was she better off for not yelling? Was it? I feel like sometimes yelling is the only thing I have.
Well, but maybe there are other methods other than yelling.
All right. I think you're right in a very Buddhist Zen way, but in a practical way, I don't know if I could give up that one last act of violence that I have in me. It may be a male thing.
I don't know. Even the woman said that she regressed, had to read her own book.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a work in progress. It's very difficult to control your temper, control yourself enough to not yell. But I think it's a worthwhile thing to try. It might lead to
Being a better person?
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. I don't know. What do you think? So guys, I'm going to use this Margaret cam. Guys,
My cam.
I'm stealing your cam. I'm a mansplain to the Z-Pack. Okay, so here's the thing. Thank you for watching. We're so glad to have Mrs. Dog on to actually give actual educated advice, because I wasn't educated on this at all. I was just like, spare the rod, because you told me to. And the nursing home thing, listen guys, if you have stories about this particular nursing home, please share them with me. If you want me to share them anonymously, we need to bring to light what's going on, and we need to treat our elders better, and we need to also work on systems improvement with our nursing homes in natural disasters, because this should never have happened. This is a failure of systemic thinking and planning and preparedness. Hit share, hit like, tell your friends about us. So many awesome people donated on Patreon the other day. I don't have the names right in front of me, but the last call I made out for Patreon donations, you guys really stepped up. It helps us a whole bunch. That's it. Anything else, Tom Heidever? Did you just make me Oz for a second? Make me Oz again. What would Mehmet say?
That's a good-looking couple right there.
Yeah. Oh God. What? Now I'm really weirdly creeped out.
I think we're pretty much out, Z. And the thing I usually say about Florida is that Florida is where you go to forget your past when you owe your past a ton in child support.
I hate you so much, Tom Heineberg.
And don't think you're exempt, Alaska. You're the cold weather Florida. Everybody knows that.
Should I beat you now? You want a spanking? Let's just spank you in front of everyone. Come
Oh
on.
my gosh, no.
And we out.
Go, 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 go. Your birthday.